TypeScript has a new native compiler. VS Code has a dedicated runtime for agent sessions. Microsoft Comic Chat is open source. Kimi K3, a new way to inspect Rust code cargo downloads, and World Cup data you can explore. All this and more in this week's episode of The Download. We're back! Welcome back to another episode of The Download, the show where we cover the latest developer news and open source projects. Please like and subscribe. I'm Andrea Griffiths, Senior Developer Advocate at GitHub. Let's get into it. TypeScript 7 is available, and the compiler now has a native port written in Go. The TypeScript team reports full build speedups between 8 times and 12 times faster. The numbers on large projects are wild. VS Code went from about 126 seconds to about 11 seconds. Sentry and Playwright reported roughly 9 times the gains. Type checking sits in the middle of the editor features, diagnostics, watch mode, CI, and agent workflows. So faster checks, shorter that feedback loop for everyone. One migration detail. TypeScript 7 does not ship with the old compiler API yet. So if your tools still need that TypeScript 6 API, you can run it alongside the new compatibility package. And Kimi K3 is now available in Kimi's API docs under the model ID Kimi-K3. Kimi calls it its flagship model for long horizon coding and end-to-end knowledge work. It has 1 million token context window, native visual understanding, an OpenAI compatible API, and 2.8 trillion parameters. If you build coding agents, put this one through a real repository with real tool calls. Large context is very useful, but your harness still needs to be able to keep the model focused on the work in front of it. And VS Code 1.129 shipped with a new agent host. The agent host runs agent harnesses in a dedicated process. Now Copilot, Claude, and Codex can use it through the agent host protocol. And the same session can stay connected to multiple VS Code windows. That gives you some useful workflows like listing existing sessions, reading recent context, starting a new session, and hand off a subtask. VS Code also added bang commands on agent host, so agent host sessions can run terminal commands directly. This editor is getting a real runtime for agent sessions. And Microsoft Comic Chat is now open source. Back in 1996, this IRC client turned conversations into comic panels with speech bubbles, poses, and facial expressions. It also gave Comic Sans, the font, one of its earliest jobs. It was created by Microsoft's research Virtual Worlds group. And Comic Chat shipped with Internet Explorer 3 and later with Windows 98. It read text for conversational cues, then selected a panel layout and character gestures. The repository includes original source snapshots plus modernization experiments for current Visual Studio, modern IRC servers, and high-resolution Windows displays. Open this repo if you enjoy source code from an era when interface teams made really weird bets. And Crates.io now lets you inspect the code Cargo will actually download. Typically, Crates pages have a code tab for browsing every file published in a specific release. Cargo installs the published artifact, and a repository link can point to different code. The viewer now includes a file tree, search, syntax, highlighting, and shareable line ranges. Crates.io also added warnings for unmaintained crates and standard library placements, including lazy static being replaced by lazy lock. Dependency review starts with the code that your build depends on, and this puts that code in the package registry. And in more open source news, OpenOscar Server is bringing back classic AIM and ICQ clients online. It's an open source Go server that supports real clients, setup guides, and a management API. This project is independent and non-commercial, and of course not affiliated with AOL or Yahoo. Protocol work is tough. I love it when it ends with a real thing that you can open. Here, that thing is an AIM buddy list. Check out the repo in the show notes. And the World Cup might be over, but we can still have fun with its data. World Cup 2026 data portraits turns every match into an interactive data piece built from roughly 1,500 recorded events. Touches, passes, shots, cards, and more become a living portrait of the game. The implementation uses self-hosted 3.js, local assets, and data, a content security policy, and fallbacks for weaker GPUs. Pick a match to watch and explore it all over again. Good data visualization gives you another way into a story that you already saw and maybe were happy maybe we're sad about. But this is a really fun way to visualize all that. And finally, don't forget, GitHub Universe is back October 28th and 29th in San Francisco at Fort Mason. Early bird pricing is still live for in-person tickets. Remember, virtual attendance is free. Do not miss out on those early bird tickets. Check it out at githubuniverse.com. And that's all for now. Please let me know in the comments your thoughts on any of the topics we discussed this week. And if you like this episode, please give it a thumbs up to serve the algorithm gods. Subscribe to GitHub's YouTube channel for all your learning needs. Tell a friend. We're doing weird, fun things here. See you next time.